Good afternoon. Welcome to Runner's World. What I'm about to cover today is going to be short, sweet, with facts to follow it. So I also challenge my viewers to debunk it. Anything I say, Google it, find it out, make sure that I'm not just feeding bull. Anyway, I'm going to tell you exactly the time frame when African American Republicans became Democratic supporters. So, in 1957, 1956, Martin Luther King was meeting with the president then, Dwight Eisenhower, on the civil rights legislation, which would have been the fourth civil rights legislation placed in. So Eisenhower was like, okay, basically, he implemented the civil rights legislation. If we could guarantee to vote for him, if Martin Luther King have his followers to vote for him and get him the African American votes of Martin Luther King's followers. So he got the votes, but he reneged on the deal. So he signed into legislation. The 1957 civil rights legislation really wasn't impactful as it should because it didn't cover nothing but a few things. So from then, African American people felt like they was burnt because Eisenhower had democratic views, but he ran as a Republican. So he didn't represent the whole party. But what happened was from then when Eisenhower reneged and put out the now as everybody know it as the weakest civil rights legislation out of all of them, out of all 9 of them, out of 8 of them, 8 civil rights legislations altogether. But they said it's the weakest out of all of them. So Martin Luther King was mad. So as Kennedy was campaigning to become president, Martin Luther King started meeting with him and discussing matters. If he became the president, would he be able to help enact, and embark on this journey of civil rights, equal right for all. And Kennedy was like, yeah, sure, because he knew also that this would be a good political move for him too. He would get the African American votes with a guarantee to give him a full term as president for 8 years. So after Kennedy became president, he kept his word. They worked on it. They worked on the litigation. I mean, they litigated over it, worked on the civil rights legislation together, and they was coming up with it from both sides for equal rights. So they didn't just want it to make it about nothing but strictly African American equal rights, but they wanted to make it about a plethora of everything. That's why the civil rights legislation is very, very important because it covers for equal rights for women too, to be able to work in the workforce with men, to be able to do adequate amount of what we do, and not be expected not to be able to do it because they're female. But anyway, but Kennedy was killed, so Lyndon B. Johnson came in as the president, which was the vice president of Kennedy. He became president by default. So once he came through, he kept his word. They signed the civil rights legislation to what they can come up with together. So what Martin Luther King and they come up with together. But also some things they say was left out of it. So I don't know what they was trying, but it was still signed. So the Democratic Party kept their word. And they have had majority of the African American vote since then. That's when the swing was between between Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson, is when the shift of African American Republicans became African American Democrats. You don't have to believe me. I just gave you a theory. You can debunk it, but you're going to come back with the same theory that I did. Have a nice day.